Well, a new report has painted a bleak picture of the nation increasingly unhappy with their work-life balance, who are taking longer to commute to work, plus find and pay for appropriate childcare. As well, younger Australians are living at home for longer, and there's a growth in mental illness. The Household Income and Labour Dynamics in Australia survey tracked 17,500 people in 9,500 households since 2001 and has revealed some confronting insights about trends in Aussie families. Lots to discuss. And I'm pleased to welcome business psychologist Vanessa Verschaw, leadership expert Professor Gary Martin and diversity consultant Conrad Livris. Hello to everyone.
Hi, Tracy.
Vanessa, to you first. This report finds more young people in Australia actually are living with their parents well into their 20s, and of course it's an even split between males and females. There seems to be some reasonable, valid reasons out there. What's your take on that?
Look, it's never a simple answer to this, but predominantly because of the drought in wages and affordability issues, it's certainly number one. But additionally, it is not equipping our children with the life coping skills and industriousness that they need to actually get out there. We're taking the pain and challenge out of life. So as an example, they did a recent survey and looked at 50% of British kids can't even tie their own shoelaces, opting instead for Velcro. So little situations like that, or the avocado smash situation, where children, because they're staying home, have more money and they're actually living to their means. So it's actually creating a bit of a situation where they don't learn how to save and they don't learn how to manage their finances.
Well, let's talk about finances. Gary, I'll go to you first, because there's obviously an issue with the childcare as well, and it continues to put enormous strain on working families as well. I suppose there's always they're trying to balance the cost of going back to work plus childcare. What's your take on this one?
Well, Tracy, the report's highlighted there's been a dramatic increase since 2001, a massive 145% increase in childcare fees over that period of time, putting childcare out of reach for many, many people. If you compare those costs to, say, Sweden, Sweden takes up 5% of household incomes for childcare. Bulgaria, say, 8%.
Yeah, right.
And in Australia, 25%. So that's quite significant.
Indeed it is. Now let's move on to, the topic of commuting, Conrad, because I mean we've discussed this plenty of times on 9 Live Perth, but commuting times for workers spending an average 66 minutes getting to and from work each day. Fathers of 2 or more children are more likely to be unhappy also with their work-life balance, obviously probably spending more time on the road as well. But it's women also experiencing the biggest work-family conflict. I mean, I suppose, is there another gender gap issue here?
I think there's a few things going on here. If you're taking more than 30 minutes to get to work, you're not actually going to be productive. There's a whole heap of evidence that keeps on telling us that. That's really concerning. If you're turning up to work and you don't want to be there, you're not going to do much. And the commuting is an issue there. When it comes to the conflict and the gender pay gap that they've found, well, one of the issues that I kind of see is that it's moving the gender pay gap from just being an issue for the individual and being paid less, and actually about the opportunities for the whole family. And that's really concerning, and it actually is kind of, it's going to limit these kids' opportunities as well, and that only creates even more stress.
There seems to be a flow-on effect with these topics, going from what your answer, Vanessa, Gary, now Conrad. There's been a huge increase as well in terms of mental illness and the issues that are being created out there, particularly anxiety, depression in women. Is this, out of all the findings, the biggest marker of trouble in our society here? Vanessa, to you first.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a marker. I mean, I call it also, to Conrad's point about commuting, if we take the sitting disease, as I call it, with no time for recovery, restricted time to actually spend time with your family, it's creating unhappiness and disengagement at work. So that has massive flow-on effects for mental health.
Gary, your take?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good sign that we're seeing mental health issues reported, and it's a sign that we're eroding the stigma that's associated with mental health, and more people are prepared to talk about mental health issues at work in the same way that they talk about a physical health issue.
And Conrad?
I think it's really, Gary's right there, it's great to have that sort of conversation going on, but let's not have people wallow in silence. If we can recognise that there is also an element in acting on it as well. And, go to the GP, go do some exercise, get outside, all of these sort of things can actually help us move away.
We'll just try and wrap this up a bit, but I want to find out if we can have any solutions, I suppose. Like, for example, the first topic with you, Vanessa, we talked about people living at home a bit longer with their parents, and that has a flow-on effect. They don't build those skills. So what's the solution here?
Look, stop trying to take the pain away. Allow your children to learn from life so that they can step into it with confidence and courage.
Gary, childcare, obviously people need it, but also they can't afford it. What's a potential solution?
Part of the problem that childcare is causing stress is because people want to spend time with children as well. It's about their work-life balance, and people say that work-life balance is actually becoming, or it's deteriorating. Forget about work-life balance. It's an impossible concept. It's flawed.
Okay.
It's totally flawed, that
So
concept.
that's impossible. You're saying that?
Yeah. Don't chase it. Chase the fact that sometimes what you do in life is going to pull you in one direction and something else the following week. And if you can accept that, you're going to be happier all round with your children, and also your mental health is not going to suffer.
Conrad, do you agree with that? It's impossible?
Yes, it is pretty impossible. But I think the way that we've got to look about it is that this is actually, like the undertone to what Gary is saying, this is life. There are going to be times when we're going to have more time, and we should relish that. But there are also going to be times when we're under the pump. And so there is a way to kind of sum all that up, rather than looking at it minute by minute, look at it over a month, over 3 months, something like that. And then you'll be able to get somewhere.
I suppose what we can take from this report as well, it's creating a reality, I suppose, out there for society, isn't it? And a reminder that we need to start working on solutions now before it becomes a bit too late.
Absolutely.
All right, Vanessa, Gary, Conrad, thank you so much for your chats this afternoon, and I'm sure we'll hear from you all very soon. So thank you very much for coming on 9 Live Perth.
Thanks,
Thanks, Tracy.